Good afternoon, Janae Johnson. How are you today?
Good afternoon. I'm well, thank you. How are you, Shawn?
Oh, I'm awesome. I'm awesome. Thanks for joining us today. Lending with Purpose is conversations that we have with our friends and our clients. To get more information about some of the things that we're doing. Janae, I feel badly because I used to have a script right in front of me, and I kind
Uh-huh.
of just now fumbled that and forgot what it's about. But in a nutshell, we bring our clients and friends here on
hmm
Lending with Purpose, just to kind of talk about what they do. There's information and resources that people need to use, things that you never knew about that you wanted to learn more about. And so here we are with you today, and I can't wait to have the conversation. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Great, great. So before we get started, I'm gonna tell a quick story, and I'm not sure if it has much to do with lending, but it's got to do with the fact that I'm a business owner and in the mortgage space, and I've often really liked to work with young people. For whatever reason, I just like the energy. Um, I do think that young people do get a bad rap. When I'm young too, but I'm saying younger, like not even I don't know what the generation is. Not the millennial, like right before the millennials.
Was it Gen Z?
The,
No, that's after
so
Gen X. We'll
Gen
say Gen X. Gen X. I think it's Gen X.
call them Gen X or Gen Z, but the folks that are younger than I am, right?
hmm
And so um, I was in the grocery store the other day, and my phone was blowing up. By the time while it was blowing up, I had realized that I left my wallet at home, right?
Okay.
So I asked the young lady, I'm like, "Do you all accept pay the Apple Pay?"
hmm hmm
And I'm not gonna lie to you, I have the technology thing somewhat figured out, but I, for the life of me, cannot. I don't understand how to use Apple Pay. I just can't figure it out how to make it work on
What?
the camera.
Oh man, we
I'm
gotta
not
get
that.
you.
Yeah, I know I'm not that smart, but I couldn't figure it out.
Okay.
So I asked the young lady, could she help me? So during that, my phone's still blowing up. I'm like, pick up the phone, like, why? I knew who it was. It was my kids. Like, why are you blowing
hmm
my phone up? Well, you forgot your wallet at home. I said, don't worry about it. This young lady has me covered, so I'll be home shortly. I was in the grocery store. So
hmm
the reason I'm telling you this story is Janae so excited about helping me figure out this piece of technology.
mm
I promise you though, if I had a question about how to ring up the bananas that I was buying, she
hmm
may not have been that excited about it because
hmm
it wasn't it was just something that was super monotonous. It wasn't like something that was in her realm, like something that she was really thrilled and excited about.
Right.
So she went through, she taught me how to do the Apple Pay there at shameless plug for Giant. I was at Giant, right? Showed me how to do that. Then uh she's like, let me show you. And so she tried to show me how to use it on her phone, but she's like, why you still got your mask on or whatever? Your phone should be able to see your face without your mask. I was like, yeah, I don't know about that. She's like, yeah, but
hmm
mine does. And then so she put on the mask and it didn't work. And I was like,
hmm
ah. And then she's like, no,
hmm
I'm gonna show you. And so she put on, she said, maybe it's a different mask. So she put on a mask, hers opened up. So then Janae, she proceeded to go down and do a step-by-step instruction on how to do it. But then she also showed me how to put my bonus card on this app on my phone so that I could use that every time. And so I walked away from there like, this young person, and it wasn't a problem, I guess, that no one else in the world had ever solved, but she
hmm
had solved a really big problem for me that I could have had and was gonna have in the future. So I get
Right.
home and I tell my wife, I was like, you know what? Once they start figuring out how to put driver's licenses on phones, I'm never carrying my wallet again.
Ever. I'm with you.
And so with that said, today we're here to talk about a little bit about education, why you should be
hmm
involved in your alumni association. I know you do a big part in getting people acclimated into college in their first year, and so
hmm
I've been itching to tell somebody that story, and I had to tell you that story because I know if she was one of your students, you would be very proud of her. And then also, I want to give everybody out there that's not giving young people an opportunity to really
hmm
consider putting them in places where they can shine and they can flourish. They do need direction, right? Because
Mhm.
there hasn't been a lot of adversity that people have seen, like the young people have seen, but just
Right.
put them in situations where they can flourish, and I promise you they'll show up. So with that said, Janae, you are going to do a better job introducing yourself than I will. So tell us who you are, what you do, and let's get into the conversation.
All right, all right. Well, I will try to do a very good job. We'll see what happens. But hi, everyone. My name is Janae Johnson. I am the Associate Director of Student Employment and Enrichment at George Mason University in the Office of University Branding. It's a mouthful. Um, in addition to my full time job, I also have the privilege of teaching at the university and help, as Shawn mentioned, helping acclimate our students to the collegiate experience through our university studies program, specifically University 100. So that means I get to work with our freshman students in their first semester. And I also am the president of the Black Alumni chapter for Mason and sit on the larger George Mason University Alumni Association board. Wow. We got through the Mason. Outside of Mason, I mean, when there's time, I also own my a consulting firm. It's Janae D Consulting and Design, where I help my clients dream big. And so if you have an idea, I consider myself an idea incubator where we mull it around and I help you figure out a path forward to execute your plans, be that business or event related, because I love putting on fantastic events. And I'm also a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated and a member of Alpha Street Baptist Church. I always say that because I got my start in the church, and the foundation that I've received through my religious practice and own faith has been very rewarding and purpose driven. So that's me in
I,
a nutshell.
No, that's I love it. I love it. Thanks for that. Where do you find time for anything else outside of that? Or I should say,
No.
where do you make time for anything else outside of that?
Now that is the statement. Making time. In pockets. I think we all have our passions and we all have the things that we feel most aligned to in people as well. And so for me, I live by my calendar. Anyone who knows me knows I need that to stay organized. But I tend to make space. I always make space for people, especially because I strongly value connections and relationships. And then with projects and tasks, one of my friends always says everyone else has 24 hours in a day. I somehow have 48. I don't think that's true.
I need help with that. Can you? Yeah, we need to talk offline. That's why I'm usually okay with sharing a lot with people, but I
Hmm.
want let's keep this one a secret. Like you need to tell
Yeah.
me how to get this 48 hours. You just so called 48 hours. I haven't figured that one out yet.
Listen, naps.
Okay, if you say so. Yeah, I love a good nap. I love a good nap.
You
Definitely.
know.
So Janae, like we're here to talk about why we should get involved in alumni
Yes.
associations, right? You and I both went to the great George Mason University. Go Mason. I see a few Mason folks in here giving you shout outs and such. So far Philip Wilkerson, shout out to Philip. And then Tatiana Sherrod.
Hey,
She says
Phil.
hello.
Hey,
Um
Tati. Ah, Tatiana's one of my students. Oh, hey, Tatiana.
and so like why is it important? So like we matriculate through college, and we end up finishing and we go our own way, and we end up
Hmm.
doing our walk of life, right? But
Hmm.
there's also a component. You just mentioned it. I think you hit the nail on the head. So hopefully I'm not answering the question for you, but you mentioned relationships,
Hmm.
which is huge. But like,
Hmm.
why should we get involved with the alumni association at our colleges and universities? Like, why is it important?
It's Man, that's a loaded question, but I'll try to break it down into smaller bits. And
Let's do
so,
it.
yeah, listen, let's get into it, right? And so you said it right. You matriculate through and you graduate. And usually, I don't know about y'all, but for me, I came out of school with debts. And so the idea coming out of college is I need to get a job. I need to be on this grind. I need to pay back. Um, and that's good. And we oftentimes, at least I know for a stint, I wanted to be a little free from all things educational related. But as alumni, we have such varied experiences and we also enter various industries. And it's super important that we come back and help not only our institution see, you poured into me and I was able to get my education here because of the opportunities I received here. Now I'm in this place and position, but also for the current students who are always our future alum. And we want to make sure that they have representation and they can know, oh, it might be hard right now, but this is what I am aspiring to be. I am aspiring to be a graduate. I'm aspiring to be an alumni of this institution. And there's so many ways you can contribute. So we often think of, we come out of school and some institutions might give you a little time, some may not. But usually there's an email that comes after the congratulatory email of, yay, welcome to the alumni status. And oh, by the way, give us some money. Like that's usually what we associate alumni involvement with is donorship. And donorship is important because money helps fuel programs, it helps fuels opportunities, and it helps ensure that the the opportunities that you may have had at the institution can persist through for those who are coming after you. But involvement is also about time and we talk about time, talent, and treasure at Mason. And so a good piece of involvement can literally just be volunteering your time to show up, to help, to be visible and present, and to spread the good word and the experience that you've had at from your alma mater. So it
So
helps all
how'd
the way
you
around.
No, that's great. How'd you get started though? Like right now you're the president of the Black Alumni chapter at Mason.
Mhm,
It's a great chapter, and it's very strong with a lot of activity and participation, right? So
mhm,
how did you and but also you're also a part of the greater university alumni.
mhm.
And so how did you get started in general? Like what, because you had to start with a win, like a small win,
Yeah,
right? So how did you get
absolutely.
started?
So we it's funny. So thinking about the people who have come before you, I came into a strong chapter. There was a lot of groundwork that was laid prior to me um, even joining the Black Alumni chapter on the board. Joining the board, I joined the board in 2012 simply because, hey Shantae, simply because of an ask. David Atkins was president at the time, and I was working at the institution as I have been, and there was a need for a secretary on the board. And he simply asked if I could fill that need. And I said yes. And here we are, oh my gosh, a decade later, and still serving and answering the call for the need that is there. So I've kind of worked my way up from secretary for a few years, and then I was vice president of events for a number of years for the chapter. And for the last 2 years or terms, I've been serving as president. And as the person in the president's seat, we also have a role on the larger alumni association board. And that has also opened up a lot of doors and opportunities to just connect more and participate in various committees. And I always say, as soon as you start working, if you're a willing worker and you're getting involved in something, you learn so much more about the organization that you're participating in. And I always think that's the best way to for me to show up in spaces is to give my energy towards causes that I believe in. And I believe in Mason, and I specifically believe in our Black community at Mason and how it's grown and it's continuing to grow, and how we have to have representation and a voice and not be afraid to use our voice in spaces when we need to.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that. That's awesome. You remember, well, right before we got started, I was telling you I was so excited about the committee that I'm working on for the
Yeah,
the 50th anniversary for the school with the the which is a big deal
it
um
is
for
huge.
Mason. And I was talking about these little subcommittees that we have and such, and then how we're getting even into more granular, smaller groups. And this one particular group is an historical group, and so I'm getting
Mhm.
a chance to find out more about Mason because I said on a call a couple of days ago, like I'd be lying to you if I told you that I knew the whole history of the school of the university.
Right. I mean,
I'm
but
just,
most people don't.
yeah, I'm
They
just
know their experience. They might know a little bit beyond,
right.
and that's
I
it.
got accepted there. I finished.
Mhm.
I met some amazing people while I was there. I got a great
Mhm.
education. I moved on, and I have a career going, family, and all that good stuff. And I have pride in the school, like you mentioned. But
Mhm.
getting to the point of, and where I started to the point of where it is now, I can't quite say that I know all those moving parts. And so getting an opportunity to be involved with learning that is
Mhm.
it's been, it's been enlightening to me. And it's very, it's just great to get an opportunity to be a part of that. A couple things I wrote down. You wrote representation. So
Yes.
which is super important because I think anything that's ever been, done great in life has just been based on a relationship, and so also like the representation piece. And so it
Mhm.
can't be everybody running in a spot to get help. You got to have a kind of a small group that gets in and speaks for the people.
Mhm.
How do you feel that at least specifically, let's talk about the Black Alumni chapter, right?
Mhm.
How do you feel that has worked for you, like in regards to representation, like getting a seat at the table?
I think so. For me in particular, and then also those who have come before me, it's is the access. So a lot of times we talk about needing an opportunity in order to do the things that we want to do. Um, and so by having that access and being present and having leadership who are not afraid to speak out and call light, bring light to situations, it brings in that necessary perspective that is sometimes, while certainly unintentional, it can be missed because we tend to know the perspective. Our perspective is informed by our own experience, and you can only speak to what you know. And so it has worked out a lot for us because we've had opportunities to sit down with the president. I've served on the RE task force initially when it was like first starting, and it was the larger committees, and now we've broken down some. We are oftentimes in committees for the GMUAA, which is the larger alumni association board, and just being that voice. And also our chapter, I love the Black Alumni chapter. We have a very robust and engaged community, and we have been doing a lot of good work for a very long time. And so other chapters tend to look at us and ask questions and want um, tips on how to best operate. And so I think that's a testament to, like I said, the work that was laid before and the work that's being continued even now.
Right. That's I'm glad you mentioned that because I was thinking about collaboration. One thing that,
Hmm.
the time that I've been involved with the Black Alumni chapter and what I've seen is there's a great deal also of collaboration amongst everyone as well, some of the other chapters. And so let's can we speak to that?
Sure, yes. So we've, in terms of who we've collaborated with or how we've come about collaborations.
Both. So
Okay,
like yeah,
sure.
both. You know, there's been like so for instance, like I know like I remember Hispanic Heritage Month, for instance, right?
Mm-hmm.
There'd be a situation where the Black Alumni chapter would collaborate with the
With the,
Hispanic
mm-hmm.
the Latino chapter at Mason and
Mm-hmm.
celebrate that month alongside that specific chapter. And so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, let's kind of like talk about like things that you collaborated with, but also
Mm-hmm.
how like they may have come about.
Okay, yes, of course. So we've worked with a couple of chapters throughout my time on the board. So I'm not just looking at my presidency time, but the whole time. And those have been like the Latino Alumni chapter, the School of Business as of recent, and we also have a couple upcoming collaborations with we're talking to the College of Humanities and Social Sciences and CEH, College of Education and Human Development, as well, to see how there might be an alignment. But a lot of that comes about going back to relationship and just being present and people getting to know me and or the chapter and wanting to be connected. So for us as a Black alumni chapter, we have our alumni come from all of the colleges at the university, and all of the colleges have their own alumni chapters. And then if you even break that down even more, as Black African diaspora folk, we also have Afro Latino people in our ranks. And so it's important to, for me, it's always been important to be open to collaboration and really willing to work with others, even if it doesn't seem like the most natural alignment, because you never know who's going to benefit from being in the midst. And so a great example of that was when we collaborated with the School of Business. We're both pretty robust chapters, and we have our dedicated audiences for the most part, but we came together and did a service project in Fairfax for Food for Others. And it was through that service project that I met some Black alum who had not been introduced to the Black alumni chapter, but they primarily been with the School of Business. And so they were able to connect with us. And then also we had students there. And for me, we should always be a helping resource. And so the students that were there were not Black identifying, but two of them were Latino identifying. And I connected them with the Latino alumni chapter because I'm like, this is where you're going. We're all alumni here, and I want you to be connected so that way you can feel and be a part of your community, and also know, even if you don't identify with us in terms of the Black alumni chapter, we are all still in community together.
Got it. Thank you. What so all right, so we have that. We really understand why we should be a part of it, your journey, and
Mhm.
it's great to hear and it's inspirational. Like seriously, like you've done a great job. I'm not just telling you
Thank
that
you.
on here. I tell you that all the time. You've done a great job. We've mentioned a few names on here too as well, but for sake of me getting in trouble or you getting in trouble because we forget someone, um, you know who you are, who's contributed a ton. So kudos to you as well out there that are listening. um,
Exactly.
so like let's go now. What are you telling your students? Like when
Mm,
let's talk about this. So when they come to Mason and they're working with you, what kind of conversations are you having with the students, like in regards to the services that you offer and what you teach?
mhm. So my approach is to be relatable. I want them to know, yes, I am your professor. However, I am also an alum of this institution, right? I've walked these halls, these grounds, and I want to help you. That's it. I want to help you, and I will impart as many resources and assistance as possible during our time. But I'm primarily telling them to, I would say, we'll say three main things. One, get out and meet people, because the connections that you make when you're going through school will hopefully last with you if they're good, and you never know where those people may end up. I look back right, I look back at the folks I was attending like freshman year and the people that I knew freshman year and all of the crazy stuff we got into and did. We won't, we won't go there, we won't go there, but let's just say we had a great time. And and these are people who are movers and shakers in their own industries. We have reporters in our ranks, we have designers, we have artists, we have engineers, scientists, doctors. Like, I would never have fathomed that as an 18-year-old freshman from Petersburg, Virginia, coming to Mason as the only one from her school. Like, I went to Dinwiddie County schools for secondary education, and the only one to come from that county. And so it was, for me, it was like coming into a whole new world and having to rebuild structure like friend groups. And so to think, however many years, we're not going to talk about the number of years, but however many years later, I'm still connected to these people that I knew as a freshman, and we're able to celebrate one another. So connections are big. Academics, that first semester is vital to establishing a good foundation for their academic progress. Now, granted, not everyone's first semester is the strongest. Mine was not the
I
strongest.
needed 3.
Listen, I finally got my act together junior year, but,
I
but it
needed
took some
3 to figure it out.
right, right. It took a little time to get there. But the way to help maybe avoid the hurdles that I had with learning how to study and learning how to participate at a collegiate rigor is to take advantage of the resources that Mason has provided. We have such phenomenal support services for our students if they only tap into it. And so tapping into it requires knowledge. And for me, I always try to impart, this is where you go to get this type of assistance. This is where you go to get this. These are the people, when you're in your classes, take your professors up on their office hours, show up so they can know your face. So at the end of the semester, if you're like, I don't know what I'm going to do, I need a point or two to get through, you can go to them and talk to them, and they would know who you are versus just being another number in the class. The last thing I say to my students in particular is try to be open to new things. College is a time of development and growth. And the best way to really benefit from all of the changes that are occurring with us mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, if you're on that path, is to just be open to what is coming to you and not closing yourself off just because it's unfamiliar. And if you don't like it, you don't like it, but at least you learn from it and you can grow from that experience.
What are the young people, they say bars.
Listen, I got tax and tips for days.
Bars, gems.
Just
Yeah,
drop it.
we
I
just
try to
drop
drop them.
no, so these 3 things, everyone, meet people. So
Hmm.
connections are super important. There's people going crazy in our chat. Janae, like, connections are everything. Like,
Yeah.
is just major. Phil even said he had to transfer to to get the connections because it doesn't sound like his school, his first school, was that well connected and didn't have as great of a
Hmm.
community. Academics, that's super important. We both said that, how for us we got a little bit of a slow start, but
Hmm.
in hindsight, looking back, we would have probably tried to do better, a little bit better. We had to
Something's a little
learn.
different.
I think the both of us in our own right are doing well in life, and we got through school and did well in school. But I will say yes, academics is super important. And you made a comment about the resources.
Mhm.
I wish I knew who that statistics teacher was that I had. I cannot remember her name. I often try, but I guess I could probably go and look back to see who was teaching it during the time I was there. I went
Mhm.
to office. That was the most daunting class I think that at least I registered for, that I just was like, I'm gonna fail it. Like I had,
Straight out.
I was like, I'm gonna take it, but I know I'm not gonna do well in it. But I went
Mhm.
to office hours. I went every office hour. I think she did it like once or twice a week, and I went
Mhm.
all the time. And let's just say I had a really, really good grade, um, in that class, because pretty much in school you study like the teacher kind of tells you what to study, and it's usually
Mhm.
like 20% of the material, right? But you need to know what that
Mhm.
20% is. So
Mhm.
resources super important on your academic piece. And then lastly, being open to new things. I personally think that is like up there, top, like the top is being
Yeah.
open to new things.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned you came from a small town. Um,
Mhm.
it's bigger than the town that many of us come from, but it's you said the only one in your whole school that came to this school. And so if you would have come with the mindset that you had before you got there to this unfamiliar place, you may have struggled a lot more than you really did. But just imagine looking back now, if you would have had even an even more open mind.
Mhm. Absolutely. I'd say I saw Phil say he had to transfer. I thought about transferring my first semester. I almost was not a Mason graduate
Oh wow.
because I was that homesick. I The people on my floor were awesome. I lived on an all girls floor, which I didn't think was gonna work out that well, but but it did. We were cool. Yes, yes. I was concerned, and I grew up. I grew up like a tomboy, so I always had female friends, male friends, etc. But I always got along better with the boys. And but being there that freshman year, it was rough. It was really rough. And I went home, went a break, and I was at a crossroads. And something in me was like, just give it another shot. Give it another shot. So that spring semester, I got involved. I had that first semester, I didn't do any clubs. I went to a couple of activities, definitely went to some parties, but I wasn't participating in my own collegiate experience. I was really an observer. And it wasn't until that spring semester when I joined the choir, I joined ABU, got connected with the Black Student Association, BSA, shout out to BSA, and some other organizations. Oh, a Coma Circle. I had a mentor, and those pieces helped me feel more connected. And because I started to feel more connected, I began. I had a stronger investment and commitment to persisting, and I think that's the thing. Gotta figure out what's your linchpin, what's keeping you somewhere, what's making you stay there, and lean into that, which is part of the reason why I'm so involved with the Alumni Association. I love alumni. I love hearing the stories. I love being able to have students then matriculate through and become alum and have that type of experience and interaction with them, so figure that out.
Uh, and I was just thinking too, this is a fitting way to end Women's
Mhm.
History Month.
Yes.
Fitting way. So
Yes.
thank you for your wisdom on this. Everybody, I don't think I need to really rehash a lot of it because it's been very clear, concise, really good information about why we should be involved. Folks like Janae and I, without folks that were paying it forward before us, that were a part of these alumni associations and such, we may not be in the situations that we're in right now. But it's up
Mhm.
to us to also kind of pay it forward, right? To make sure that
Exactly.
everyone else is getting the same experience and to support our schools so that they can continue to build, number one, but number two,
Mhm.
to produce this amazing talent that comes through these schools. So excuse me, just make sure as best as you possibly can understand that because you're active and you're involved, that doesn't mean that someone's going to take from you and dig in your pocket, in regards to giving, because you mentioned that uh, there's one
Definitely
person
want
I
you to
do
give.
know in particular.
We
uh,
definitely want you to give. We
I
want
just
you to give.
I know one person in particular that definitely wants you to give that we both know,
Yes,
and you do too. But
we
no,
need it. We
but
need them. They're
but
great at
but what
it.
I'm saying though is you don't have to lead that way first. Like just like you
Exactly.
mentioned, to get involved, right? I
Exactly.
also wrote down give good energy and find some mentors. So, like for
Hmm.
instance, Janae, you're a great mentor for people to get involved, to figure out how to get started in an alumni chapter. You don't have to start out by being the president of the chapter. You just come and you donate your time, like with hours and things like that, going to these community service events and such. Those are
Hmm.
ways in which you get started to start sort of meet people to figure out if if it's for you. So, yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you for your time. I want to also couple more things before we wrap up. Um, what uh you can answer them how you want, but what do you need? Number one, how can we help you? And then also, how do we get in touch with you too as well? How do we connect with you or
Okay.
the alumni chapter?
Okay, so let's do it all. We're gonna tackle it all today. So what do I need? I need so for all of my Mason alumni in particular who may be listening to this, I want to see you. We need to see you. We need to hear from you. And so anytime there's an opportunity, be it volunteer, be it attending an event, be it coming out to something social, please show up. We There's so many of us in our ranks. We have, I don't know if you know this, Shawn, but we have over 14,000 Black alumni that have graduated from Mason in the 50 50-ish years we've been in
Yeah,
existence, because
yeah.
we know we started before that. And so we want to see you, but we also need your treasure. We need you to give. So I have a personal goal slash chapter goal, in that we award a scholarship every year to an undergraduate student in the amount of $2,500. And that's one of the six different scholarships you can get from the Alumni Association. Right now, we are able to award one scholarship per year. I want our endowment to increase enough so that way we can award at least two scholarships a year. If we can get even more than that, I would love it, because our students are so deserving. And Shawn, you went to Mason a little bit before me, and I came a little after you. Each year, it gets more and more costly to attend and live in general. And so, any support we can give to help a student persist through and stay the course, I want us to be able to. So, please give to the Black Scholars Endowed Scholarship. I will drop the give link in the chat here in just a moment. And then the way to keep in contact. So with me, I'm on LinkedIn. We're here. Please connect with me. My email, I am a public entity through Basin, so you can look up my name and find me, but it's jjohn2. I don't mind putting it out there. It's jjohn2@gmu.edu. And for the chapter, connect with us. We have our website is bac.gmu.edu, where you'll see articles of alumni and faculty and staff who are doing great things. You can learn more about our chapter organization as well as the scholarships we award, and connect to our listserv. And so our email for the Black Alumni chapter is gmubac@gmail.com. And I'll put all that in the chat and I'll give that to you. But
And on
above
social,
all,
on social though, it's at GMUBAC, pretty everything,
correct.
right? At
Hmm.
GMUBAC on all platforms.
All platforms at GMUBAC, except for Facebook. It's spelled out on Facebook. So George Mason University Black Alumni Chapter. And if you go specifically to our Instagram, there's a link to our link tree, which has all of our links there. And so there's a way to get in contact.
Okay, yeah, and we'll get
Yeah.
that posted on here too as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this was great. This was great. Can't let you go to get off that easy. You thought I forgot, huh?
I did, but it's
Uh,
okay. I think
uh,
I'm ready. I think I'm ready.
drum roll. Zoom. So, Janae, one person, one
Mm,
question. Who would it
mm.
be and what would you ask? I'll repeat it. One person, one question. Who would it be and what would you ask?
So, man, it's a little question. Um,
What I'm here for.
if I love it, I love it. We need that push. We always need that push. So, if I could ask one person one question, it would have to be my paternal grandfather. So he died before I was even thought of. He was not around. I was not fortunate to meet him, but I did know my paternal grandmother. So I would ask my grandfather, how did you persist in the face of such adversity as he helped to establish the NAACP chapter in Stony Creek, Virginia? I am always in awe of the work and the legacy that he left behind. So E.H. Johnson, Edward Henry Johnson, was my grandfather on my dad's side. And to this day, people in that community talk about the influence that he had. He was a pastor, NAACP educator, very much in the community. And I think I've always said I got it honest. It's in the blood, it's in the bloodline. So I would ask him, how did he persist in the face of such adversity?
That's amazing. That would be a great
Yeah.
conversation to sit in on too as well. Yeah,
Right.
what a
Man.
legendary. So yeah, I was thinking that too as well. I'm like, well, you got it honest. Now I understand where you get the 48 hours from. Yeah.
Had no other choice. Had
Yeah.
no other choice.
It all came full circle right there. Janae, thank you. I
Indeed.
asked you to hang on with me for a quick second after my close out. But everyone, this has been great. They all are great. But I been knowing Janae for I don't know, a while, a long time. And we won't say how long, but a while. And just respect everything that the chapter does. Definitely very active. It's an amazing network, and I do appreciate that. Um, Anybody. Like the reason we're here is because I want to make sure that everybody, has access to this network. It would be ashamed if I knew these people and had access to these resources and not share them.
Mhm.
Lastly, if there's anything that I or we can do to help you in any way, please don't hesitate to reach out and continue to remain as safe and as healthy as possible. And we will be here next Thursday at 2 o'clock. We'll see you then.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye, everyone.